Was it a successful season for VGK in the crease? Our assessment, our comments coming up next on this WTF edition of Locked On Golden Knights.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What the Foxa Friday. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. You could find us wherever you get your podcast, of course, and please subscribe to our Locked On Golden Knights YouTube channel. We are brought to you today by Indeed. When you need to hire, you need Indeed. Visit Indeed.com/lockedon. Bruce Cassidy told you, Chris, earlier this season that he doesn't like to platoon his goalies, but he did in the playoffs. He didn't like to platoon goaltenders in the playoffs, correct? So while in Boston, though, however, in 2022, long time ago, he played Linus Ullmark and Jeremy Swayman between the pipes, and Cassidy wound up utilizing in the first round series versus Dallas, Logan Thompson and Adin Hill in the 7-game series. Logan Thompson played the first 4 games of the series, losing the last 2, and Hill started the final 3 games. LT gave up 3 goals in each of game 3 and game 4. And I felt that there at that time was a little bit of slippage in Thompson's game through those final 2 games. I believe Cassidy and Sean Burke would have had a very quick trigger if Thompson struggled, I believe, in the earlier couple of wins. Cassidy might have been skeptical about LT, I think, before the Dallas series. And he said that Thompson hadn't played playoff hockey. So that's another animal. Remember that quote? That's another animal. VGK through goalie injuries.
The loyal lineup. Don't forget that one.
The loyal lineup. Oh, geez. Okay, VGK, South Beach Bruce right now. They turn over, Bruce. Turn over. He's somewhere in the sun, right? We don't want him to get too sunburned.
He's in Vegas.
Okay.
He's in Vegas.
VGK goalie injuries never had that rotation that they really wanted to get to this season. So there's that animal as well. So that perhaps might have been an extension with 2 goalies that really at times were very inconsistent. They had a battle through injuries. The extension might have contributed to VGK's first round demise in the playoffs.
I mean, I'm not putting anything on the goalies in the first round of the playoffs. I think they were both wonderful and gave the team a chance to win. So I think that's the first thing. The main discussion, I guess, totality of the season, was it a successful year for the Vegas Golden Knights goaltending? Just like that. The first thing that I did say coming into the season, obviously health was a major concern. But I had also said if the Golden Knights goalies can find a way between Logan and Adin Hill, of course, to log, 65, 70 or greater starts between the two, that it should end up being an okay situation. Yuri Patera only had 6 appearances. I don't know if that was 6 starts. That's 5 starts, so 1 relief effort. So
yeah.
So 77 starts between Logan and Adin Hill. So as weird as the health situation was, the platoon, if you will, worked out just fine from that regard. So a couple stats here that matter. Mick Kerr, NHL Network, great listen anytime he's on. His quotes about the goalies are in the range of give me goalies that are above the average in goals against, give me goalies that are above the league average in save percentage. So the National Hockey League save percentage for the regular season was .903, goals against 291. So let's talk about the Golden Knights, where they measure up to that.
903 and 291. Okay.
Say that again.
903.
Yep.
291.
Golden Knights goals against 296. So just slightly higher. We're talking you're close enough in that department right there. Save percentage, which is what matters a lot more to me, they were .907. So they're right on the league average in goals against, slightly higher in save percentage. Logan and Adin do get the lion's share of the starts without Yuri Patera needing to come in as far as an injury situation goes. So when you look at it like that, I will say it was a successful year given all of the concerns from both of us, not only coming into the year, but throughout the year and into the playoffs. And they were both fine in the playoffs too.
LT, 11 games or so before the Dallas series, was in a zone pretty much, earned the start due to his 2.14, if I remember correctly, goals against average, and 926 save percentage. And that was with a couple of games, if we recall, that he gave up a bunch of goals. So he really locked down when he needed to. All along, what's my contention been about VGK goaltending, though? You just need that money goaltender who's there. And Aiden Hill, again, has he proven himself that he is a Stanley Cup contending goaltender? Has he proven himself? Yes. Could it have been a flash in the pan? Was the defense was much better in the cup run of a season ago? And see, I thought again that they needed a veteran goaltender. Look at even the effects of Jonathan Quick in New York would have settled down the goaltenders. Shesterkin will be the first one to tell you, because I'm, of course, a Rangers fan, but this is just an example. Shesterkin would tell you that his contributions as far as settling the team down, as far as being a team leader, and then he played really well again between the pipes this past season. And I was questioning if these were the two goalies that would bring you a cup title again. And keep in mind, a season ago, you had Larry Brossoit, who contributed immensely. You had Jonathan Quick on the bench, who, again, you see that leadership and that role. And I'm sure he worked a ton with Aiden Hill there a season ago. So I think a goaltender like that would have settled down these two, particularly in the playoffs. And they weren't bad. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. Hill, 1.70 goals against average, was 1-2. LT was 2-2 and a 2.35 goals against average. And I saw slippage in his game. That's when I said, no, it's time to bring in Aiden Hill, because he wasn't, to me, in that zone. He looked so shaky at times. And again, you can't give up those odd angle goals at all. They need to work on defending shots from the corners, because that was too frequent for me there, even leading into the playoffs.
A lot to unpack there.
As always.
Logan, no, that's fine. Logan Thompson, very good playoff run. Obviously, yes, you did have a couple of goals that, I mean, especially that weird glove goal and glove saving that didn't happen in game one, and then obviously the helmet shots.
The helmet shot really got to me, because he was not in position, as much as you want to say,
he's not in position.
that
100%.
he should be hugging that corner of the post at that point, and there was space there. And so, yeah, and they were aiming at his head for a while with the puck, if you remember.
Aiden Hill, Logan Thompson leads the world in headshots in the goal every game it's happening. It seems like. All right, so you started off by talking about the Stanley Cup caliber goaltending in the beginning of that.
Yep.
I am not going to question Aiden Hill's ability to perform in the biggest of stages. It's not an accident that he put up the second best save percentage ever for a goalie in the playoffs. That's not an accident. And you look at his performance in the final three games. I know we're in Loserville right now, but if we're going to say if the Golden Knights were still alive and still in it, I think you would have seen an even better version of Aiden Hill that you saw in the last three games of the Dallas series. So does Aiden have the skill set and the mindset needed to be a world-class goaltender? Absolutely. I called him the best goalie in the year for a while last year, because he had a 9.43 save percentage for a long, long time. I think he ended up finishing in the regular season with a save percentage of 9. Where the heck is it? Save 909. So it dropped off significantly throughout the season, but still put up numbers above the average, and his goals against was 271, significantly lower than the league average. So I'm not questioning Aiden Hill ever as far as his ability to win a big hockey game. You saw the shutout in Game 6, another prime example. A little bit of luck in that game, but every goalie needs luck to win a game, whether it's by a shutout or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just how the position is. Now, if you want to talk about concerns with the goaltending position, it's the ability to get the Golden Knights or any team Aiden Hill is going to be on for that matter in order to get enough starts to be that guy. And this is where another segment for the napkin about the managing of the goaltenders. We'll save that for
Parking
Monday
lot.
or Tuesday. Yeah, that's one for the parking lot. That'll be a good conversation. That's
What did you have?
bound to
What's
piss off 80% of our listeners.
that supposed to be again? We need some clicks. What's the title of that
managing of the goaltenders.
one?
Sean
Okay.
Burke's managing of the goaltenders. We'll talk
Okay.
about that Monday or Tuesday. But going back to my point here is that both goalies, they grinded for long stretches of starts. So you go back to Kelly McCrimmon's comments in the offseason. When I asked him about the state of the goaltending, my particular question was the confidence level. Should Yuri Patera need to come in and be the man for a little while? Whether it was GM speak at the time or whatever, but Kelly McCrimmon said that his quote was along the lines of Yuri painted a good picture in his mind about his skill set.
No.
Those lines.
No, it was along the lines of the other guy is not a good goaltender.
McCrimmon looked at me and said, "Who?" When I said the third goalie, he needed.
Did you say the other guy? You said the other guy.
Listen, the concern is the fact that Logan Thompson, Aiden Hill, respectfully ran out of gas at many different points throughout last season. If we're talking about a successful year for the goaltending, here's where it was not successful in the fact that Yuri Patera only had 6 appearances in a season that featured long-term injuries to Aiden Hill. So if there's something I will definitely knock down on the Golden Knights, it's that right there. But overall, putting a ball on, at least from my side of this, successful year. Aiden Hill, as long as he's healthy, is the man. Logan Thompson, as long as he's not relied upon to start 6 games in a row every month, he's a very solid goalie. And it's a really good 1A, 1B situation, which is what the Golden Knights wanted it to be. Injuries changed that up and possibly mismanaging of the rotation.
No, it's Aiden Hill 1, LT 2. It's not
they were
1,
both
1.
Okay, fine. If as long as it's a 60-40 split. So if that quantifies Aiden as the number 1, fine, so be it.
Coming up next, were VGK's bench coaches. Did I hear McCrimmon calling them the best coaches that he's ever had? No. Were the bench coaches effective in the playoffs? Coming up next on this WTF edition of Locked On Golden Knights. With Policygenius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million plus in coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical. Policygenius, convenient and time-saving. Policygenius helps you to compare your options from top companies, and their team of licensed experts is on hand to help talk you through it. You could talk to a team of award-winning agents who will walk you through the process step by step. Easily compare quotes from America's top insurers in just a few clicks and find the lowest price. Crazy thing is, you might think that you are well covered, but you're not. Your work life insurance policy might not offer all of the protection for your family's needs. So check that out. And even worse, it may not come with you if you leave the company, if you leave that job. Talk about some of the reasons that Policygenius is so trustworthy. Well, they give you the unbiased advice from a licensed expert support team. They have no incentive to recommend one insurer over another, so you can trust their guidance, and thousands upon thousands of 5-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot from customers who found the best fit for their needs. Check out the life insurance, that line off of your to-do list, I should say, in no time at all. Policygenius. Head to policygenius.com/LockedOnNHL or click on the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That is policygenius.com/LockedOnNHL. Our return here on Locked On Golden Knights, WTF, Tony Cordasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. We appreciate you making us your first listen. I don't know if we say it enough, but Without you, and especially our everydayers, the show cannot cook, as they say in the game. And of course, Fridays, WTF, Saturdays, the Chris Times Chris Jr. show. That's the YouTube exclusive. Please subscribe to Locked On Golden Knights, our YouTube channel. We don't know if we're podcasters, entertainers, journalists, definitely not journalists, or what have you, but we're still finding our way. We're like Bruce Cassidy shuffling the lineup each and every game in the playoffs here. We're going to try to find that winning formula after 2.5, 3 years. Okay, so you had coaching changes there behind the bench. Future considerations and best of luck in your future endeavors. Misha Donskov is out. Dominique Ducharme, the former head coach of Montreal, the special teams coach of sorts there for VGK, working alongside John Stevens. And we don't know how that worked. Oh, you know what I liked about the exit interview day? That interview with Ducharme was just second to none. Joke. That's an insert joke there. Ryan Craig, of course, with the Silver Knights. Joel Ward is in. I don't know, of course, what his impact was. You have Sean Burke, who Berkey was the goaltending coach, and no access to any of the assistant coaches once again this season, which is not good. It's not good because you do have questions, a lot of questions for all the coaches. So, again, McCrimmon did not call them the best coaching staff he's ever had. He stopped short there. But what are your thoughts, Mr. Golick? What are your thoughts about the contributions of this coaching staff compared to the Stanley Cup winning coaching staff?
I mean, when you put that adjective out there, then obviously you got to question the latter for not being a Stanley Cup championship bench. Call it what it is. Listen, Ryan Craig is day one as anyone is with this organization, and probably as far as a suit outside of McPhee and McCrimmon and everything, he's the man right now. And I think there is going to be one day, whether that's 2 seasons from now, next season, or 5 seasons from now, where Ryan Craig does get the keys to the Bentley and winds up becoming the Vegas Golden Knights coach one of these days, unless a situation pops up sooner elsewhere. You have to think someone like Ryan Craig will start getting interviews for assistant and or head coaching positions. I don't think he would take an assistant because he's been there and done that, so to speak. But the Golden Knights do adopt the one voice strategy as far as from the coaching staff. That's why Bruce Cassidy is the only one that will speak as far as to the status of the team and coaches and post-game interviews and all that sort of thing. It would be nice, at least in the post season, when everything is over with, win, lose, or draw, to hear from the coaches. And that was, I think, one of the pleasant things that I did enjoy about all of the days with the Cup last season. You got to see the assistant coaches talk. You got to see, you learned about what was it? Was it Burke or Stevens? I forgot which coach it was. Over there on Cape Cod, talking about just bringing everything to the first responders and how important.
No, yeah, that was Stevens.
Stevens.
I think it was in New Jersey. I think it was in New Jersey, but that was
either way, whatever it was a nice community, and you learned just about
that's what he
person.
did. That's his day with the Cup was with first responders in his community. Just big props to him.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You learn about these people as humans, and that you also get that obviously when they're talking about the team and stuff like that too. And it would be interesting to find out why Burke was so heavily utilizing Aiden Hill. And you're not going to ask him about what his concerns are with Logan Thompson, but you'll find creative ways to get his thoughts on Logan Thompson and why it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Joel Ward, I mean, I think he's a really good coach. It's fun to interact with him. The Golden Knights use a strategy of early in the season, they kept him in the press box most of the time. And then I think they started letting him come down to the bench either in the second and or the third period, just to kind of have that bird's eye view. And I think that's how the Golden Knights utilized him for most of the season. Feedback seemed all positive about him. And obviously Ducharme, don't know a lot about him besides his run with the Montreal Canadiens. And obviously now he's with Bruce Cassidy. But chemistry is the word of the offseason. If they're going to write a book about the failed season, which is what it was, it's going to be the chemistry for whatever narrative. That's number one narrative. how is the chemistry of the bench just being completely swept under the rug? I'm not saying it's bad. I'm simply saying that if you want to talk about chemistry, you have a completely new bench.
Mhm.
You have different coaches, different voices with a roster that is
You'll
just
have
completely turned over.
3 you have 3 head coaches on the same bench. Stevens, former head coach, Sharm, former head coach, Cassidy, next season, former head coach. Sorry, that was bad. How is he the 7th tenured coach in the NHL after 2
Maybe
seasons?
7th because Keith, 7th. You're probably right about that,
He
actually.
moved up with the bullet. He'll be number 1 maybe by American Thanksgiving. That's always our problem.
American Thanksgiving, man. Tony's having a good show today. Listen, it's all fair and it's all in play. And Pete DeBoer had a great quote, by the way. I don't know if you caught that. I retweeted it yesterday. They asked DeBoer about all the turnover and stuff. And DeBoer came out and said, listen, this is a different world now where the coaches are expected not just to coach these players, but to develop relationships. How can you develop a long-term relationship, not just with the player, but how about the community as well? How can you not develop that in such a short time when people are just getting canned every 2.5 years? So credit DeBoer for thinking about stuff bigger than the game when he's asked about that sort of thing. And, it's just the reality. I mean, DeBoer also acknowledged that's what the reality of being an NHL coach is. And I'll double, triple, and quadruple down on the fact that no job is safe. No one is safe. End of story. And we've
No.
talked
So,
about Coach Cassidy and our
yeah,
concerns, and
absolutely.
he wears these guys thin. He does, and he's not the only coach that does that. And what we don't know is what was said in those exit interviews. And I can comfortably state that it's definitely, especially after being a first round exit the year after winning a cup, I'm sure a few players said some things that caught McCrimmon's attention,
There's
and that's
no
fair.
doubt. There's absolutely no doubt that happened.
I would
And
have
then
loved to hear what Logan Thompson had to say in March or so. Loved. No,
and
March or
then
so. No, March or so. Full face value. I would have loved to hear Logan Thompson's take.
okay, and while we hear Cassidy he apparently has a ton of confidence in Sean Burke. He's not once in my recollection, he's not once mentioned Ducharme or Joel Ward or Stevens. I don't recall him mentioning those coaches at any one point of this season or post.
He's talked about Joel Ward before because they talked specifically about when he joins the bench and stuff like that. But yeah, you didn't hear much about those coaches and all. He's not overlooking them. It's just in the heat of the moment, he's got 5 to 8 minutes to answer questions after a game, and you don't hear those names just come up a whole lot. I don't know if they came up like on the radio and TV pre-games and stuff like that. But
Did he thank
I'll
the coaching staff on exit day? Did he thank them on exit day?
I don't know.
I
I don't
didn't
know.
hear him. I did
Does
not
that
hear.
matter? I don't know. I mean,
No,
I guess
no.
it'd be
I'm
nice
just
to hear,
saying
but
though, the only coach we hear about is Sean Burke. Yes, he's in the spotlight though, with the goaltenders and all that. But
it's
he has
Sean
a
Burke's
ton of
decisions. It's Burke's
yeah,
decisions with the
he has a
goaltenders.
ton of confidence in him. So
He's got a lot of confidence in him. You could tell.
coming up next, it is that time of the week again. It is WTF today with a little bit of a twist. It's what the Foxa, Radek Foxa does in VGK. We'll get to all that when we return right here on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. There is no I in team, but there is one in Indeed. There is one in Golic, and that's why he pretty much runs this show. Indeed is the hiring platform that you need to build your team. And when you're hiring, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place instead of spending hours upon hours on multiple job sites searching for candidates with the right skills. Indeed's a powerful hiring platform where you can do it all. We streamline hiring with powerful tools that find you matched candidates. And with Instant Match, over 80% of employers get quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor a job, and that is according to Indeed Data US. Candidates you invite to apply are 3 times more likely to apply to your job than candidates that only see it in search, according to US Indeed data as well. Indeed's hiring platform matches you with quality candidates instantly. Even better, Indeed's the only job site where you only pay for applications that meet your must-have requirements. Indeed is an unbelievably powerful hiring platform, delivering 4 times more hires than any other job sites combined. And that's according to Talent Nest. Join more than 3 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/locked-on. The offer is good for just a limited time, so act quickly. Claim your $75 credit now at Indeed.com/locked-on. Indeed.com/locked-on. Terms and conditions apply. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. We are back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick from Las Vegas. We appreciate you making us your first listen each and every day. Thank you so much. Of course, don't forget tomorrow morning is the Chris and Chris Jr. show. That is exclusive here on Locked On Golden Knights, our YouTube channel. So definitely tune in there. Cassidy's on the beach. He's just sipping the Mai Tais right now.
In Vegas watching his kids play hockey. Stop it.
Last year this time, he was still drinking the Kool-Aid, I think. Okay, so what's that?
No, that was
okay.
It was still been in round 2. Never mind.
That's true, but in between games. Okay, it is What the Friday time. Anything good or bad, of course, that happened this past week that you wanted to comment on pertaining to VGK. I'll go first. VGK versus Dallas, 7-game series, each game decided by 1 goal. I felt the Golden Knights were outclassed in this series. However, ton of credit goes to VGK for keeping these games close. I thought all along, maybe save game 1 or early on in the series, I felt that Dallas was the better team, but VGK definitely deserves some props for making each game close. One other one. I'm sorry, Kelly McCrimmon. WTF. But this was the best team ever. This was the best team ever in the long and storied history of the Vegas Golden Knights. The best team ever, Kelly McCrimmon, got bounced after the first round in the playoffs. WTF.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. If we're gonna keep on kicking McCrimmon here, I'm definitely gonna fire my shot.
No, I'm not kicking him. I'm just saying that's a pretty bold statement.
Kicking him a little bit. That's fine. It's okay. That's fine.
It's a bold statement, bro.
Yeah, no, I mean, speaking of bold statements, I think I hit this last maybe Monday, last Friday. It was before WTF. It was before WTF. So, all right, here we go. Kelly McCrimmon makes the comments about we're not going to negotiate contracts after the trade deadline. This is the layup, Tony. We're not going to negotiate contracts after the trade deadline during a playoff push. Noah Hannafin got a big contract extension, $58 million, 8 years, 34 days after the trade deadline, days before the Golden Knights officially qualified for the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. So big, fat, humongous WTF McCrimmon for that distasteful and poorly timed statement. I'm sure he just misspoke about it. Like, I know he didn't mean to come across as negative, but that was a very poorly calculated statement by someone who is extremely calculative in the words that he uses and the timing he says what he says. So that's my first one. My second one I will go with here, just regarding the Dallas Stars. All the Golden Knight fans just dying to watch the Stars get eliminated because the Stars knocked out the Golden Knights. Like, stop it and enjoy the game. It was a great series. It was not a mean series. It was fun to watch. Good hockey, close up and back. No disrespect for the Stars. If DeBoer wins a cup, I think it would be wonderful, and I would not feel any differently about it. I'd feel better about the Golden Knights being knocked out if the Stars won the cup because they lost to the best. And then the last one, Wayne's World on YouTube. You're driving me nuts. So Wayne's World has been on the narrative so far with Cassidy and Marchessault not seeing eye to eye. I'm with you, Wayne's World, so far. But Wayne's World is going as far in saying that there is some type of footage out there or one of the two made a comment where Marchessault is not this. The quote was that Cassidy said Marchessault is not big enough to play defense and not big enough. Where is this here? Okay. No, I've clearly said Marchessault. Marchie himself stated that Cassidy doesn't think he can play defense in the NHL. Marchie will end up where he's wanted, and that's not on a team coached by Cassidy, just as Marchie stated in a recent interview. Marchessault said he's going to wind up somewhere out. Like, what are we talking about here? And there's so much more. I mean, Cassidy feels Marchessault is too short to play defense in the NHL. Marchie said as much in an interview last summer. None of these interviews agree, Wayne's World. So listen, if you're going to come to the table and keep on chirping on our YouTube, please do, but please reference something. Give us some meat on the bone. Don't just keep saying Cassidy says these things. I don't know if you spend any time around the team, but I don't think, I kind of think you're full of crap. That's what I'm going to say. So WTF. I'm done.
Yeah. Okay. WTF at Phil Kesselson. WTF.
I like it already.
Why is Chris an Oilers fan now? WTF. You know, Chris, I think you have some mansplaining to do.
Number one, it's good for the NHL if a Canadian team does win a Stanley Cup. It's great for the NHL if McDavid wins a cup. McDavid's my favorite player on the planet. I am invested 4 to 5 figures deep in his cards. If McDavid does well, Golick does well. So that's why number one.
That's why there's an I in Golick.
There's an I and there's think about another statement, but I'm not gonna say it. All right. And lastly, really fast here, how about little Chris? I'm rooting for the Oilers as well for little Chris. Little Chris called the Oilers to win the cup when they were terrible in our first Chris and Chris show, when the Oilers had like 8 points in 22 games or whatever the heck it was at that time. So I want little Chris to go viral because he called the Oilers when they were a dumpster fire to win the cup.
This is from at Rob Hart 8675309. Those aren't the numbers. He's got numbers. WTF is up with all the player injuries. Is this a failure of the VGK training and conditioning staff in preparing players physically and mentally, including avoiding dangerous on ice situations? VGK is one of the league leaders in block shots. Do they need better equipment?
Yeah, they should stop blocking shots. Yes, they should stop blocking shots.
They need better equipment.
They should get better. They're out there wearing Jofa helmets with listen, this is Kelly McCrimmon taking a gamble with an aging roster full of vets, and this is how it's going to be. This is how this roster is going to be. I mean, drop Robin Leonard counts against man games lost every year because he is LTIR. So it's not as bad when you look at it like that. I mean, that's over 200 games right there saved. But in the same breath, it's a high risk, high reward Stanley Cup roster. So deal with it.
Okay. At Wit11, that's Migsy, our friend. WTF do I do now with all of my time that I don't have VGK playoff hockey to obsess over? WTF.
Watch the podcast. We'll stress
going way over. We're going way over today, so
it's Friday. Keep going. At least
it'll last at least half of a day. At the Prince of Peas, PEAS. WTF? If the Stars end up going to the Stanley Cup Final, will it mean that the Knights Stars was a pseudo Western Conference Final? WTF?
Yeah, why not?
WTF? Also from the aforementioned Prince of Peas. That's a lot. That's a tongue twister. WTF? Where will all the speed be on the team if Stevenson is gone?
Stevenson hasn't had any speed in 2 months. What are you talking about?
Okay. WTF from Vegas Golden Knights. That's GLDN. How did they miss so many open net goals from only a few feet away? WTF.
Put on a pair of skates and do it, and let me see you shoot on an empty net, bro. That's my answer to
that. WTF from our friend VGK fan in Toronto. WTF. You know I bleed VGK 24/7, but let's give credit where credit is due. We pushed the Dallas Stars to 7 games. They beat the defending Stanley Cup champs, so the year deserves all the accolades that come with being the better team this series. Go, VGK, go.
Yeah, Stars won. They're better.
At that guy underscore 448. No WTF, just missed the boys. At our guy Eric Rabbers at eRuns. WTF, losing sucks always. At Sisypher, everyone needs to settle down with losing Marchessault. Martinez will either retire or go to Detroit to finish his career. That opens up $5.5 million. WTF, people, settle down.
Yeah, but to be fair, that means there's only 7 million to work with, and Marchessault himself is going to command more than that, and you still have a lot of other free agents. So I get what you're saying there, but there's a lot more to that.
Okay, one other thing too here for WTF. They mentioned Leonard's name. He's still around. Like, this is
Carpy.
so funny.
That's Carpy's go-to every year. That's Carpy's go-to every year.
So they mentioned. So Steve Carp mentioned.
And we love Carpy. Let's be clear. We love Carpy. We adore Carpy. He's an awesome guy.
Yes, of course. And that's what makes this comedy even better. I think he does it as a nudge, I think. And so Leonard's still in the mix to goaltend next season.
No,
what is happening?
McCrimmon shut that down pretty fast. That's
yeah, for sure.
And everyone knows that, but I think he was curious on what the team stance is on that. That's all. And WTF, I wish Robin Leonard had some type of visibility around the team and showing support. He's still getting paid a very handsome sum. It would be nice, but I get he also probably wants nothing to do with the spotlight right now, and that's his prerogative.
I've got another WTF. VGK led Dallas in hits in that series. Will this be a new identity for VGK? And did they out hit themselves? I think they did. I think they wore
hit the defense. They didn't beat on the defense in that series.
Yeah. WTF? Are you going to paint the ice? There's a long story there with me because the first season, everyone else was doing it in the league. I was on the air regularly, and I was just screaming and yelling, "Paint the freaking ice!" And they finally listened to me, of course, like they usually do. And now here they call it some corny stuff like coat the ice, which is stupid.
Coat the fortress. What's wrong with coat the fortress, Tony?
It's a cult, not a coat. A cult, it should be cult the fortress because it's a cult with all these fans. Okay,
listen, I'm pushing back here.
Are you going to put like mansplaining on there? What are you going to paint?
All right, so let's be clear about a couple things. One, Coat the Fortress is a fun event. Win, lose, or draw. It is the best way for a fan, a family. It's the best way for a fan, a family, whatever, to positively just have your last moment for the team, and then you got the off season coming up. So it's a great event. My family's done every single one since it started. We will definitely be there. Now, Tony, to your comments, there is a group of VGK employees on the ice with they're ready to go in case something inappropriate is there. Like if you were to write not a major or LTIR or man-spleen or X-spleen or anything else or good written, if you say pay Marchessault his money, stuff like that, they will scrape that off faster than I couldn't think of a
speeding bullet. A speeding bullet.
That's boring. I wanted something much more edgy than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
faster than McCrimmon can dismiss any Robin Leonard statements. But Coat the Fortress is a wonderful event, Tony. You knock it off.
Can you put next cup in 15? Maybe next cup
in what 90 years? 90 years from now? What are you saying?
Yeah. Shut up, Tony. I did come up with mansplain today. I don't know where that came from. We appreciate everyone tuning in, especially our everydayers. Thanks again so much for sticking with us all season. But this is the fun time of year because we'll be going 5 days a week through July, through June, and then in July we go 3 days a week.
I feel like we've done like 30 days of consecutive shows right now because we've done some Sunday shows. Me and Chris do the Saturday. I feel like we got a Cal Ripken streak going right now.
Yeah, you're the Iron Man because you'll be off this Sunday though. Perhaps, I don't know. We appreciate you tuning in. Thank you so much. We'll be back again Monday, and don't forget to subscribe to our Locked On Golden Knights YouTube channel. For my man Chris Golick, I'm Tony Cardasco from Las Vegas. Have a terrific weekend, everyone. And we'll see you next week right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Take care.